History is filled with tales of underdogs, but few battles are as mind-blowing as the one that took place at Albulina. Picture this. 8,000 Albanian warriors, mostly villagers, facing a colossal Ottoman army of 80,000 soldiers. By all logic, this should have been a massacre. Instead, in just 6 hours, the massive Ottoman force was utterly broken and sent into a full-blown retreat. How on earth did this happen? This wasn't just a lucky shot. It was one of the most brilliant ambushes in military history, a masterclass in strategy, deception, and courage. Welcome to our deep dive into the Battle of Albulina. Today, we are going to unpack exactly how a tiny force managed to outsmart and overwhelm an army 10 times its size. We'll explore the genius plan laid out by the legendary Albanian leaders. We'll analyze the critical role of terrain, timing, and psychological warfare, and we'll see why the seemingly invincible Ottomans walked straight into a trap they never saw coming. This story isn't about brute force. It's about intelligence winning against overwhelming odds. So, let's travel back to the year 1457 and uncover the secrets behind this legendary victory. To understand the miracle of Albulina, we first need to understand the man behind it, George Castrioti, better known as For years, he had been a thorn in the side of the Ottoman Empire, leading a relentless rebellion from his mountain strongholds in Albania. The Ottoman Sultan, Mehmed the Conqueror, the same man who had taken Constantinople, was furious. He was determined to crush Skanderbeg once and for all. So, in the summer of 1457, he dispatched a massive army. But this time, he wasn't leading it himself. He sent one of his trusted commanders, Isak Bey Brenos, along with Skanderbeg's own nephew, Hamza Castrioti, who had defected to the Ottoman side. They were given a clear mission: find Skanderbeg, destroy his army, and end the Albanian resistance. The Ottoman force was estimated to be as large as 80,000 men, a truly staggering number for the time. They were confident, well-equipped, and they had a personal score to settle. As the massive Ottoman army marched into Albania, Skanderbeg knew a direct confrontation would be suicide. His forces were small, numbering only around 8,000 to 12,000 men. So, he did what he did best. He used his homeland as a weapon. The Albanian terrain is rugged, filled with mountains, forests, and narrow valleys, perfect for guerrilla warfare, but a nightmare for a large, slow-moving army. Skanderbeg began a campaign of strategic retreat. He refused to give the Ottomans the open battle they desperately wanted. Instead, his forces launched hit-and-run attacks, ambushing supply lines and harassing the Ottoman columns before melting back into the mountains. This was classic psychological warfare. It was designed to frustrate the Ottoman commanders, wear down their soldiers, and stretch their resources thin. The Ottomans, led by Isak Bey and Hamza, grew increasingly impatient. They were deep in hostile territory. Their men were tired, and their target, Skanderbeg, seemed to be a ghost. Hamza, knowing his uncle's tactics, believed Skanderbeg was too afraid to fight. They started to get careless, convinced that the Albanians were on the run and victory was just a matter of time. This overconfidence was exactly what Skanderbeg was counting on. He was luring them deeper and deeper into his chosen killing ground. After weeks of this cat-and-mouse game, the Ottoman army set up camp in the field of Albulina. It was a plain north of modern-day Tirana, surrounded by wooded hills. For Isak Bey and Hamza, it probably seemed like a good place to rest and regroup. They posted sentries, but their guard was down. They believed Skanderbeg and his army had fled into the mountains, defeated without a major fight. They had no idea they were sitting in the center of a perfectly laid trap. Skanderbeg had been watching them the whole time. He had split his much smaller army into 3 groups, hiding them in the forests surrounding the Ottoman camp. 4 days, they remained concealed, waiting for the perfect moment to strike. Skanderbeg's plan was audacious. It relied on absolute secrecy, perfect coordination, and the element of total surprise. He needed the Ottomans to feel completely safe, to let their discipline slip. And that's exactly what happened. The Ottoman soldiers were relaxed, many likely unarmed, their camps sprawling and disorganized. They were completely oblivious to the thousands of Albanian eyes watching them from the hills. The date was September 2nd, 1457. At a prearranged signal, Skanderbeg gave the order to attack. Imagine the scene. A quiet afternoon in the Ottoman camp suddenly shattered by the sound of thousands of Albanians charging from the surrounding forests. They descended on the camp from multiple directions simultaneously. The surprise was absolute. Ottoman soldiers, caught completely off guard, scrambled for their weapons. Panic spread like wildfire. The Albanian attack was not random. It was a carefully coordinated assault. Skanderbeg himself led the charge into the heart of the camp, aiming to create maximum chaos and decapitate the Ottoman command. The fighting was brutal and at close quarters. The Albanians, fighting on their home turf for their very survival, fought with a ferocity that stunned the Ottomans. What made the ambush so devastating was the psychological shock. The Ottomans believed they were safe. Suddenly, they were surrounded, attacked from all sides by an enemy they thought was long gone. In the confusion, Ottoman units couldn't form proper battle lines. Orders couldn't be heard over the noise of battle. Soldiers started fleeing, and that flight turned into a full-blown rout. In just 6 hours, the battle was over. The mighty Ottoman army, 10 times the size of the Albanian force, completely collapsed. The results were catastrophic for the Ottomans. Historical accounts vary, but it's estimated that up to 30,000 Ottoman soldiers were killed, wounded, or captured. The Albanians captured the entire Ottoman camp, including immense amounts of supplies, treasure, and weapons. Among the prisoners was Skanderbeg's own nephew, Amsa Kastroti. The Battle of Albulina was more than just a military victory. It was a masterpiece of strategy. So, let's break down the key factors that led to this incredible outcome. First, deception. Skanderbeg masterfully created the illusion that he was weak and running scared. This lulled the Ottoman commanders into a false sense of security and made them incredibly careless. They walked right into his trap because they underestimated him. Second, terrain. Skanderbeg used his knowledge of the Albanian landscape to his absolute advantage. The wooded hills around Albulina provided perfect cover for his troops, allowing them to hide in plain sight and launch their surprise attack. The terrain that was a benefit to the small, mobile Albanian force was a liability for the large, cumbersome Ottoman army. Third, timing and surprise. The attack was launched when the Ottomans least expected it, during a period of rest when their guard was down. The shock of being attacked from all sides simultaneously created instant panic and chaos, preventing any organized defense. The psychological impact was just as important as the physical assault. And finally, leadership and morale. Skanderbeg was a charismatic and brilliant commander who inspired incredible loyalty and courage in his men. They were fighting for their homes, their families, and their freedom. In contrast, the Ottoman army was a vast, multi-ethnic force fighting far from home. And once their commanders were captured and their lines broke, their morale shattered. The aftermath of Albulina sent shockwaves across the region. The news of such a monumental defeat of a massive Ottoman army by a tiny Christian force spread throughout Europe. It solidified Skanderbeg's reputation as one of the greatest military commanders of his time, earning him the title Champion of Christ from the Pope. The victory provided a much-needed morale boost for Christian Europe, which was reeling from the fall of Constantinople. For the Ottoman Empire, it was a humiliating and costly setback. It demonstrated that even with their vast resources, conquering the rugged lands of Albania would not be easy as long as Skanderbeg was alive. While the Ottomans would eventually conquer Albania after Skanderbeg's death, the Battle of Albulina and his decades-long resistance significantly delayed their westward expansion into Italy and the rest of Europe. The fate of Hamza Kastrioti, Skanderbeg's traitorous nephew, is a somber footnote. After being captured, he was sent to a prison in Naples, where he eventually died. His story serves as a tragic reminder of the personal and political complexities of this conflict. The Battle of Albulina remains one of the most studied ambushes in military history. It's a timeless lesson that numbers aren't everything. A smaller, well-led, and highly motivated force can defeat a much larger enemy through superior strategy, intelligence, and the courage to take calculated risks. It's a story of how 8,000 warriors, through sheer brilliance and bravery, achieved the impossible and carved their names into the annals of history. Thank you so much for joining us on this journey back in time. If you found this story as fascinating as we did, make sure to hit that like button and subscribe for more epic tales from history. Let us know in the comments what other historical battles you'd like us to cover. Until next time, Stay curious.